I know what a butthole looks like, and that's butthole right there.
I am the danger. I am the one who knocks.
Yeah, going outside is an absolute nightmare. There are people out there, and real life, and fresh air, and the worst of all, grass. I'm woefully afraid of grass. Oh, God. Listen, nobody said that the elves were very smart. I mean, the fact they exist to begin with shows that. Now, history tells a compelling story. Most tribes and tribulations and compendiums of our history tell the story of learning. It tells us the process of which we grow to become the better people that we are. And as such, it is my obligation to give us every opportunity to learn and grow. And obviously, we need to learn and grow from the things that are factual and informational, things based and ground in reality. Which is exactly why I have instilled the help of the Grim Cleaper to give us a historical recounting of the last World War, so that we can learn and grow from it in only the most endemic and learned way possible. Because we deserve to be better. Now, obviously a very, very real-world informational video about the World War as portrayed through Warhammer Total War 3. Obviously, this is going to be a very compelling, heartfelt story. So all treat this with the respect and ire that it deserves. And let's understand our history, shall we?
Win. Every known being in the universe, or a gun. Total Warhammer 3 is a massive game with over 275 factions.
The same thing as asking who would win? An entire stream full of horny chatters, or one very, very eager slime girl? Yes is the answer to that.
Today we'll be fighting them, all of them, by declaring war on every single nation from turn 1.
Oh.
And what better way to do it than with the strongest magical spell ever invented, gun.
So this screams of superiority complex. Like the one guy that's like, okay, so whilst all of you guys are using some yee-ask magic, we developed an even better kind of magic. It's called gunpowder. Like the founding fathers demanded. We're the founding fathers. We founded this. Therefore, we're the father of gunpowder.
As a fleet of undead pirates, the vampire coast boasts nothing but powder, cannons, and the doctrine of manifest destiny, all led by Count Noctilus von Washington, founding father.
Manifest destiny, you say? Was that the final solution?
Author of the Second Amendment. Now, Count Noctilus is a very special lord, because he is the only character to start in the middle of nowhere.
Davy Jones's locker.
Graveyard is completely isolated in the ocean, so for right now, we're safe. But make no mistake, the
Really?
AI
You
can
think you're
and
safe?
will send armies here, so that won't last very
If
long.
Warhammer Total War has taught me anything from watching Reggie, Spiffing Brit, and this, it's that there is nowhere at any point in the Warhammer 40k, sorry, in the Warhammer Total Warhammer universe that is ever safe truly. You are always at the possibility of being mugged by a Slaneshi demon that wanted to steal your toes and use them as a necklace.
Every single faction, I'm using an advanced technique called doing it manually. Using a console command mod, I can reveal all factions for diplomacy.
Effort.
Now, this doesn't give us any practical advantage, it just means I can talk with any faction, so I'm able to declare war on them. I also turned on endgame crises, including the newly added Vermintide. So while I'm starting World War III, some ground rules for the campaign. Rule number 1, I must be at war with every faction.
So, like, you could just play the game. But this is playing the game, but with extra steps. And I respect that. Because much like me, I've never just played a Souls game. Every time I've ever played a Souls game, Elden Ring, Dark Souls 3, I have never played a Souls game normally. I always do them with some egregious stipulation like zero vigor, a stupid-ass build, Twitch integration. Because why would I want to stream playing these games for the first time like everyone else would when I could make them more interesting and unique? You get to see stuff you would have never seen before.
Faction and must immediately declare war if I meet a new one. Throughout the game, new rogue armies, horde factions, and rebellions will end up spawning. That I don't have
But you have to wonder if the scope of this might be a little bit too much.
2, I cannot make peace unless
Really though, okay, real talk, I have experienced this firsthand by playing StarCraft 2 free-for-all modes. Back in the day when I used to play StarCraft 2 professionally, to kind of test myself, I used to sign myself up for the 8-person free-for-all rounds. And if you've ever wanted to see madness, when you sign up to a game like this where you are your own faction against a world of other factions, The best rule is to try and just hide in the corner and wait for everyone else to try and off themselves and fight each other between themselves, and then you rise from the ashes and assert your authority after you've built up 5 million void rays, and then nobody else can stop you, even with the power of 1,000 candles behind you. It's not about asserting your dominance in early, it's about being the sleeper agent that nobody expects, only to then be the most potent asshole that's ever existed on the planet. Like a runny torrent of diarrhea that takes time to build up. These things, they take time.
I declare war immediately after, meaning our peace treaties are just scams to extort money. And lastly, rule number 3. Play
extortion.
War Thunder?
Like being a VTuber.
The sponsor of this video, War Thunder,
Whoa,
where committing
War
military
Thunder?
atrocities has never been more fun. Channel the power of God and
So this is a natural stage of evolution. This sponsorship works immensely well because they've developed gun. The next stage from gun is tank. Yeah, they're gonna get some tanks on the field soon.
anime, and over 2,000 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships on PC, Xbox, or the
Is that
PS5.
ship drifting?
But for the honor of your great leader with Chinese tanks, or the bellowing might of the Italian Navy. With every vehicle model down to each component, you'll know
pizza
what it
the
means
Italian
to truly
Navy
War
sends me.
Thunder. As the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made, it's historically accurate down to even the smallest
Oh my god, screw
Japanese
that one
decal.
tank in
And if you're
particular.
less hardcore like me, don't worry, there's options. The only thing this game is missing is civilians. So play War Thunder this nanosecond.
Modders, get on it. Mod in some civilians for us to expunge.
Using the link in the description or pinned comment below to get free stuff. And if you don't, just remember, I'm watching.
Good.
With
Good.
all of that
I hope
said,
you are,
let's get back to
'cause I
things,
like it when
because I
people
would
watch.
like to formally welcome you to hell. The fruitful result of me spending over an hour just declaring wars.
Oh,
you know things
that would
are
upset
serious
me.
when you have 5 save games.
See, this is why I could never do this. This is why, like, StarCraft 2 Free-For-All was the extent of my patience. Because I could not have the patience with my ADHD to go through over 100 factions just to declare war on them.
And it's still turn 1. After declaring war on the final faction, our wars list was this. And just like that, I've destroyed pretty
Amazing.
much all
This is
hope
the way.
of world peace or the UI working as intended, which leaves just one thing left to do.
Okay, but can he forge alliances with the sole intent of utilizing that alliance for his own cotton gain just to declare war on them later? And I can't be the only one, by the way. This is what I loved about Red Alert back in the day. I used to love watching all of these factions interfight between each other, and then after a few minutes, watching to see who would be the winning factions. Watching as they would, like, wage war between each other, watching as powers would rise, and seeing which major factions were the ones. Like, watching a story sort of unfold just in the territories alone. Like, you know, you watch this one territory that starts out as one island in of itself, and then all of a sudden it spreads like a cancer across the entirety of the map. And all these smaller factions having the little return story of, like, getting pushed all the way back to then come back from the brink of destruction to fight back and take back the lands they lost. Like, just a story in the land battles and the territory itself.
Fight 275 factions. Well,
Sheesh!
kill me. Zombies are pretty awful. Give a zombie a gun and they'll probably miss. But give 100 zombies a gun and now they'll still probably miss. The vampire cast mostly consists of deceased rednecks with floating trailers, but Count Noctilus starts with a special unit, the Necrofex Colossus. These walking boats
Excuse me?
with floating trailers, but Count Noctilus starts with a special unit, the Necrofex.
You know, I have seen a lot in my life. At no point did I think I would ever want to see an anthropomorphized pirate boat mech. But now I've seen that, and I can tick that off in the list of things that I have actually seen in my life. And I don't hate it. In fact, I would love to see more pirate ship mech.
Colossus. These walking boats are icons of American ingenuity and are the hard carry of
That
our
is
army.
such a
But
cool
to get more,
concept.
we need money. Unfortunately, being at war with everyone, holding on to more than just one settlement isn't possible, at least for now. Luckily, most factions are too busy doing their own thing to fight us at the beginning. So our first
Exactly.
turn needs
You
to be
act like a
spent
sleeper
preparing
cell
for the
agent.
inevitable 16
You
armies
keep
showing
yourself
up at
to
my
a
door
small
faster than
little
a
area,
Jehovah's
maybe 1 or 2
Witness.
settlements,
The
then you
Vampire
rise
Coast
up.
also has a horde mechanic that works with Noctilus, allowing him to build and upgrade his ship, functioning like a mobile settlement. At max level, the ship gets powerful bonuses.
Oh, that's so cool! Hey, before the video goes any further, I just want to let you know that we have a Patreon, where you can support me, the fantabulous Makari, and get awesome perks for it, such as behind-the-scenes footage, early access, patron-exclusive reactionaries, and voting on future content, and so much more. Or heck, you can even just follow for free to get updates on all the goings-on within the Makari Mansion. With all that being said, thank you very much for listening, and please, enjoy the video. It's like the Terran's command center from StarCraft, where it can just lift up and move around, or like some of the Zerg units that are literally structures that can get up and move and fight.
But it costs multiple black market kidneys to get there. Although as respectable gentlemen, we have a few options to make that money. We could sail to the islands and wrecks around the ocean for treasure, or just steal it. Sacking coastal settlements requires targets and enemies.
I mean, yeah, he's right, you know. You could spend all that time harvesting resources, processing resources, manufacturing equipment. But why do that when other people are stupid enough to do that for you just without the consent? Turn their hubris into your gain. I mean, you are zombie pirates.
Of which there was no shortage. Green represents friendly land. Guess what red is? It's already turned 7 and the first AI has sailed into absolutely nowhere to try to attack us. But one of the big positives we have being in the middle of nowhere is that for people to sail to us, they take attrition on the sea. Not like that stops the AI or these random ogres dying. Unsurprisingly, our first turns are mostly just upgrading our capital, core buildings, and resurrecting more units. As an undead faction, we do have necromancy, meaning we instantly resurrect units, scaling based on how many have died in the area. More casualties equals more plentiful and powerful recruits. On turn 10,
I see. So this is very much the strategy. This is why I do love playing these kind of games. Real-time strategies emphasize the idea of strategies. It's why I feel as though in the modern year, the only relevant RTSs that still exist are StarCraft, even though that game's dead in the water, the Age of Empires series, and this. And I would love to do some challenge missions. I would love to do some challenges in Warhammer, Total War, for my YouTube channel at some point. Because I think this would be a fun challenge to try and do this kind of endeavor. Because then you have to really look at the different factions and think to yourself, I might be a little bit fucked. But how fucked am I? Because the level of fucked that I am is only correlative to the level of unhinged bullshit my brain is capable of coming up with.
I decided to step 1 foot outside of our base.
Hello again.
What a great idea. The armies we're fighting are either multiple 20 stacks or a homeless guy. By turn 15, Arkan got bored and left, so we sailed to a nearby Skull Island, able to auto-resolve a fight that really doesn't look like we should win, and still get a cool 20,000 gold. To make even more money, we sailed over to Lustria near all the port settlements, because instead of occupying cities, we—
Really, this just goes to show you that the game has a lot of factions, but not all factions were made equal. And situationally and subjectively, some factions benefit better in different situations. But I prefer to play the faction that deals with the situation of your inferiority complex, where you think you're playing the best class, but then you realize you're not, and I'm going to prove to you why.
can establish pirate coves. These function as mini settlements, allowing us to siphon income from their owner. So despite only having one settlement, we could still scale our economy to afford more units. Moving out to the northern cities, it's important to remember that being on land is an absolute nightmare. Case in point,
it's just like an average gamer going outside. Yeah, going outside is an absolute nightmare. There are people out there, and real life, and fresh air, and the worst of all, grass! I'm woefully afraid of grass! Oh god! Just like VTubers are afraid of real people, this faction they're playing are afraid of ground. Hi Jesse, thank you for that follow.
Of naked green men. Now for reference, we have almost no melee units.
Did you just say naked green men? Did you just say
Naked green men? Oh, were you gonna go in for a big old tussle? Yes, the orcs are getting onto land, they are. Oh, you got a band of zombies? Or are you gonna give them a good old crumping?
We really just have 1,601 guns. Something cool is that by upgrading our ship, we get cannon barrages as army abilities. Slightly better is the walking Colossus shooting his hand cannon like a SoundCloud rapper. The only issue is that it runs out of ammo quickly, but
you're
our
telling
gunnery whites
me
can give it
that
more.
this faction not only start with financial gains as an active passive bonus just by existing, but they also benefit off the death of everyone around them, and they start with a giant fucking mech? Yeah, I'm starting to realize why every other faction are inferior. I mean, if I started with a giant mech that scales off my ability to be a greedy little shitbag, I'd be a VTuber. Oh, wait.
Us having nothing but rusty
Literally
guns
the
and
Mr. Crab
decomposing soldiers.
faction.
Apparently that's all we need. That and Noctilus eating several thousand damage and almost dying. I don't think we had any business winning that. We did lose our depth guard, but gunnery mobs are both cheaper and comparatively better.
As we always know, in Warhammer Total War, if Reggie has taught us anything, it's that there is always a notable level of acceptable losses with each faction. Some factions, you know, 10% losses, 25% losses, that's acceptable. You know, you're trying to assert your authority, you're trying to capture some land, you're trying to subvert the overarch of a faction that just doesn't like you. You need to sacrifice something to get some headway in life. But when you play a faction that resolves itself around economy and stealing money and being stronger because you have more money, well, the pirate's life for me is that the less army we have, the less splits of the money we have to make. Therefore, there is always an acceptable amount of losses of yes. It's not percentage, it's yes. Because the more losses you have, the more money there is for you. The less you have to split it up. It just makes sense.
With all the casualties taken, a necromancy site was created, so we could resurrect more units if we ever came back. But right now, our army was pretty solid with
Greed
mostly
is
gunners.
good.
So by now, we'd reached turn 22, mostly unharmed, despite the fact that over 100...
And if, let's face it, economy-based factions, like these pirate zombies, merging in with the necromantic capabilities, is quite possibly the most apt way of describing a VTuber ever. Benefiting off of the death of those around them because people get cancelled and graduated from being a content creator, summarily also then milking the chat dry of any financial gain. Yeah, this is the VTuber faction!
100 factions have already died. Well, that sounds like a good thing. When enough land gets conglomerated by the AI, the only enemy they'll have left to attack is us. Like with this random Empire 20 stack, the first of many. From now on, Noctilus's new job is to run in circles and probably get shot, which when considering our levels of freedom output, actually works pretty well. After each fight, we can...
I see, so they are channeling the idea of the blender tactic. They're staying in one area, letting the enemy bring their armies to them in their stronghold, blending up all of the armies that have been demotivated due to attrition, turning those once living things into dead things, and now those dead things have been brought back as living things, only they're no longer fighting for the enemy, they're fighting for you! It's genius!
Use Invocation of Nehek to cheese extra healing, making sure Noctilus ends each battle with full health. To get some extra gold, I can do a...
Axeman, I will correct you. VTubers aren't Skaven. Lewd tubers are Skaven, because they're constantly talking about breeding, and they breed like the Skaven. Regular VTubers are just zombies. We wake up tired, we go to bed tired, we have to pay our taxes, and we do it, hopefully, with the benefit of our friends. But if our friends happen to die and we gain benefit from them dying, then so be it.
Little
That's not
diplomatic shenanigans by making
that's just
fake
the
peace
circle of life and
treaties.
nature
It's like a
healing.
business deal, except there is no business, there is no deal, and we threaten you with a gun. The funny part
Yay!
is, despite being at
Violence.
war with a lot of these factions, our relations are actually improving with them. For more money, we sailed to a few shipwrecks and recruited a vampire fleet captain. As fighting units, they're pretty useless, but on the campaign map, they can establish more pirate cities. Throwing one in Lothern, our coves were beginning to look like femboys in Cambodia. A massive...
I see where you guys have all zoomed back to, you bunch of absolute pervs.
Throwing one in Ulthuan, our coves were beginning to look like femboys.
Based. Very based video game. Very based. I, for one, see the appeal.
Is in Cambodia, a massive driver of GDP. Of course, the elves don't really like being robbed, as is pretty evident. With ulthuan being so unfriendly, we found somewhere else a bit more welcoming. The peasant pits of Bretonnia. And of course, within one turn of being on land,
Bretonnia and
for them,
welcoming should never go hand in hand.
A pretty small cannon called Queen Bess. The AI might be good at dodging, but as soon as one turn of being on land, unfortunately for them, I have a bit of a surprise. A pretty small cannon called Queen Bess.
You know, in the grand scheme of things, that is not the biggest cannon I've ever seen. I do have to be honest, and I have to say this with the utmost in my heart, that this cannon is woefully misrepresentative of what I would conduce as a big fucking cannon. Because if you're gonna get some big fucking cannons, you better be ready for those bitches to be ready for a big fucking cannon.
Yes. The AI might be good at dodging, but as soon as their archers stand still, plus our gunnery wight can give it pretty much unlimited ammo. The rest of their army was as formidable as their leader. They too walked directly into 6,000 bullets and died.
Bitches
Through
love
the entire
cannons.
battle, Noctilus gained health? Now, winning against the Fey Enchantress is pretty important, because
like
then we get
cheating.
her legendary defeat trait, plus 10% casualty replenishment. These traits exist for each legendary.
Wow, would you look at that? There's so many bitches around, and you know what bitches enjoy? Cannons! Give that bitch a cannon, cause bitches love cannons!
Lord in the game, with all of them being unique.
Look
and
at
some
all
of them
these
are enormously
bitches.
powerful, but scattered around the world.
Yes, yes,
Although
I
there are
know.
a ton
I'm
of these
pretty
lords and
bitching
traits,
myself.
We mainly care about two, Sigvald and Marcus. Both have traits that improve Noctilus's army and make him a living tank. So a side goal of our current campaign is to beat each of them in battle with his army. Getting back to the pirating, as Noctilus sailed around, our capital got attacked. While this army might look really scary, well, that's because it is. Defending the maelstrom for the very first time. Ah, home sweet home. Something special among the vampire
Looks like home to me.
home. Something special among the Vampire Coast is aquatic units. Pretty much everything we have fights better in the water. Despite the enemy having heavily armored black orcs, our gunners do not really care, allowing us to...
Did you just say black orcs, dude? I prefer the term culturally and ethnically diverse orcs, thank you very much. Why would somebody raid me right when I'm being inappropriate, for sake? Well, time to raid to make people distracted. That was the wrong button. Whoops. Hey guys, check out this distraction.
To win the
And
battle
not
with
be culturally
relatively few
inappropriate.
casualties. Still, our capital was mostly undefended, so I recruited our first army 30 turns into the game. To reinvigorate those zombie tax dollars,
You know there's something slightly weird about your faction when it takes 33 turns to recruit your first army, and yet still by that point you have enough of an army to blot out the sun. Either you are the best recycler on the planet, recycling other people's army for your own benefit, or you're very good at financially compromising people to make them work for you.
we could pay a
It's
little
not
visit to
bribery,
Ulthuan. Oh, never
it's
mind.
merely-
There he is. One of his armies did walk into an ambush, letting us test our new cannons. By upgrading Noctilus' ship, we
Insinuation.
gain even more of those map-wide cannon
Convincing,
shots.
through
We also
financial
given
means.
Noctilus the ability to summon more units, which unsurprisingly also have guns. I love summoning gunners right in their face. Which is helpful considering
I gotta be honest, having watched Master and Commander and so many other feudal war era movies, there is nothing I enjoy more than watching a firing line of muskets mow down my enemies in due haste, all the while circumventing the trench warfare. The only thing more than that I like more than the delights of war, storage wars.
his ability to beat the crap out of people. While Noctilus winning is nice. Yeah, why am I not surprised that this is what my capital looks like? While Eltharian's army
It's like
is
a
better
giant
in
sphincter
every
of the
way,
ocean.
defending on a hill gives our guns more leeway. Eltharian led the charge, foolishly believing I wouldn't shoot my own.
You think I don't know what a sphincter looks like? You think I'm stupid? I know what a butthole looks like. And that's a butthole right there. That's a butthole of the ocean. A butt ocean, if you will. A holshin. See, if you will.
Alright, killing another Elven 20 stack isn't bad. And another. And another 2. I sure would love for Noctilus to come help if he wasn't running from wood elves in the ocean. The only positive is that we'd recruited a renowned admiral, allowing us to switch our second army's leader to one with his own horde and shipbuildings. Alright, so I'm gonna do my best to cheese this one using the help of the AI. By turning off control large army, that means only 20 units can enter the battle at once, but by making this an AI controlled army, we get 40 and they only get 20. So even though their reinforcements are already here, they can't summon anyone else because they're at their 20 out of 10. But for us, well, because ours is an AI-controlled army, we just get everything. Despite our overwhelming numbers, we are also overwhelmingly incompetent, with extreme inefficiency because our army is quite literally falling apart. With the first army swarm, we barely pulled out a victory on the reinforcing second, resulting in a huge number of corpses. How many, you might ask?
Now listen, some may say corpses are a bad thing, but to zombies, corpses are a ammunition of sorts, a resource to be managed. Either convert it into sustenance, building materials, or maybe more of an army.
I don't know. I never counted, you know.
To clear the remaining armies, Noctilus sailed back to the capital, taking out another 20 stack and earning a new mount. That house-sized Jumanji-looking ship we have, yeah, now he rides it. Oh, hey there, Tyrion. Couldn't see you down there. Tyrion's legendary defeat trait was a nice
ton of
bonus,
these
adding
ship
army-wide
mechs
melee
of yours.
attacks. But what scared me a little bit
They seem a
more
little
was
bit busted.
Alariel the Radiant, or more aptly named, Alariel the Psychopath. Whenever I play Immortal Empires, there's 3 things that are always guaranteed. Dies by turn 5, Tzeentch is a massive asshole, and Alariel the
As it should
Radiant
be.
winds up whipping out the Sword of Khaine and going on a genocidal rampage. Slay, girl boss. The Sword of Khaine is a unique melee weapon.
as a
Anyone
self-proclaimed
sociopathic
girl
enough to
boss, I
claim it
resemble
gets
that remark.
ungodly combat bonuses, army clearing vortex spells, and a general tendency to kill everyone. The longer a user has the Sword of Khaine, the stronger it becomes. If we let Alariel use the sword uncontested, the problem is that she'll be too powerful to beat later. So our plan to stop her, the diplomatic approach. Invading Ulthuan. To get some war funding, we could channel our inner Jack Sparrow and navigate a series of treasure maps. You know, it's stuff like this that makes the game special. This level of thought
You say special, I say ADHD inducing, but hey, you do you, buddy.
and love. I really appreciate it, but not as much as I appreciate the dude who posted all the answers online. Approaching the Supreme Elven Donut, we were intercepted by...
I mean, sure, I could spend the one brain cell I have to figure this stuff out myself, but why do that when other people have spent that brain cell for me and will save me from crumbling into an autistic fit of anger about how I can't figure out the most simplistic of things? Thanks, Internet!
the great Penny Cox. Luckily, Miss Cox was dispatched without losing a single unit, allowing us to breach
nice
the
Cox.
shores of Ulthuan. Sieging Val's Anvil and Tor something, we took our first
Thank you,
settlements
Bryce.
of the game, speeding ahead by turn 51. Occupying pieces of the island, unsurprisingly, drew some unwanted attention. Alariel was only at war with one faction. Gee, who could that be? And with her upgrading Sword of Khaine, it was time to spread those cheeks.
You know,
Not
life
to
is a
mention
little
the
bit
other
screwed
7
when you're the
armies surrounding
only
us.
adversary
Luckily,
in
trying to
somebody's
kill one of
eyes.
them, a failed ambush, so we could
Could also
lightning
be used to
strike to
describe
fight only
typical,
one
failed
enemy. I like that our
relationships.
army embraces those traditional values, recreating the atmosphere of the Waffle House. With the ambush foiled and another army obliterated,
I need to go to
it was
America
time.
just to
She
go to a
had
Waffle
arrived.
House at this
Bringing
point, I
both
think.
of our best armies, Alariel
I wanna
sat
watch
at
some
nearly
wrestling.
1,000 weapon strength, hypersonic speed, and the tankiness of a character from the hit game, Viva Pinata.
Don't
Oh.
hit me with your spade.
We'd have to fight her now before the Sword of Khaine got any more powerful. Loading into the battle, we have 2 minutes to set up before she arrived, and with our 40 groups of gunners, I formulated a plan. Shoot her. In about 3 hits, she almost killed
Shoot
Noctilus, took out a few
her!
hundred infantry, and had
Shoot
learned to metal
her!
bend bullets into her skin. Oh great, it looks like their entire army routed.
I mean, if the American way of thinking goes about anything, it's the idea of if 10 bullets don't kill the thing you're shooting at, the founding fathers dictate you should fire 1,000,000 bullets! Fire everything!
Not Alariel. After more than 20,000 bullets, she finally went down, taking 350 people with her and
More!
nearly killing all our heroes. But her tyrannical rule could come to an end, letting us free the Sword of Khaine for the sake of peace, global happiness, and mostly greed. I wouldn't say freed, more like under new management. So how does power beyond comprehension feel?
Boring.
Okay, I will keep that in mind. Higher combat stats, a tornado in a jar, and now everybody in the world hates us slightly more than a warm pillow. As Noctilus
Yeah,
holds the sword for longer, the
warm
buffs get
pillows
better
are
and the
the
debuffs
worst.
get worse.
When I get
The
into bed,
generic
I want
problem
the
with
cool
wielding the
pillow.
sword is that it'll eventually make everybody declare war on you. But for us, that's not a problem. It's a feature. With
Look at that
Alariel
Phoenix.
wounded, it was a huge weight off our chest. Of course, that's like moving a boulder off a mountain. She may be gone, but they certainly aren't. The stage 1 Sword of Khaine is
there's one thing
Running
more
Noctilus
determined
into the
than
enemy
pig
army
ignorance,
alone is
it's
not
the
best
abusive
idea.
X that wants to commit
Yet.
war
it's
against
also
you.
important to remember that these gunners are tier 1 units, fighting
Thank you,
much
Roxas.
stronger armies. To really get Noctilus's army into late game shape, it would need an upgrade. And infantry, don't cut it. But that Necrofex Colossus we have, now that's not terrible.
No kill like
because the
overkill,
upgrade isn't cheap and the
exactly.
High Elf capital just happens to be nearby. I necromanced a... Is that a word? Necromanced?
It is.
Oh, it is. I necromanced a completely new force,
I
and
know
with
my
all the battle
words.
sites around, pulling an entire army
I'm
out
British,
of my
don't you
ass is
know? I know
surprisingly
all of the
lootless.
Lexicon
With 4
words.
armies to the
My
north, it was clear we couldn't
vocabularium
hold
is
on to our
rather
settlements for long.
elaborate and
Surrounding Ball's
extrudent.
Anvil were lizardmen, dark elves, and a forgettable little
Spiffy.
faction, willingly taking attrition
Cheers, Lord
and led by
McCaffrey's
a
here.
man named Melwyn. But the only thing blocking Lothern was
Why man, thank you for
King
giving
Lewin.
sub.
And this random gaggle of elves. There's something so
Gaggle of
satisfying
elves.
about watching
That is
a
certainly a
giant
way to
undead
describe
ship
elves.
just blow away entire armies. I mean, I didn't even notice they had a sun dragon. It just died anyways.
The power of your dragon pales by comparison to the power of our pirate ship mech. Your dragon shall now be improved to a Dragusi because it's getting fucked.
Wow, nice fire. Bringing 2 armies to the gates of Lothern, we fought a grand siege using auto-resolve, and then stole 25,000 gold. Now all we have to do is Alariel, round 2, Kung Fu. Panda is a very good movie. Alariel may have better units, but we have the sheer unwashed masses. Well, this is 3 armies against 1. All our units are extremely injured, and Alariel's army wasn't the only one nearby. The plan was basically abuse Wind of Death, our
third-party
army
assholes.
cannons, and use Noctilus
See,
as a meat
this is
shield.
the
For the
problem.
rest of the campaign, we're gonna this spell. Escaping into the ocean, it was clear we need to abandon
doesn't
our
matter how
settlements
good
at
your
Gucci
skill
Island
is,
and
it just
regroup
matters
back
how
at the
patient
capital
the
to
other
spend
people
that
are around
elven
you.
gold on a really, really big boat. And the ability to recruit more Necrofex
And I
Colossi.
know,
Now,
I could just
normally
get
these
good and defeat
Colossi
the
are
third
absurdly
party,
expensive, with almost
only
500
so much you can
upkeep
do.
per turn, so a whole army of them would probably collapse our fragile economy. But as a savvy American, Noctilus has mastered the age-old art
Thank you,
form known
Art
as
Flowers.
minimum wage, granting a 20% reduction in upkeep. When we combine that with another 20% for level 5 Horde, minus 23 from skills, minus 15,
Yeah,
minus
Bloodbath, have a
10,
good one.
and minus 8, we get a grand total of 96%.
Wait, that's a lot of math. I don't do good with the numbers. Can you convert that to something my ADHD brain can understand, please? Like, how many, rather than a number, just say how, are they, on a scale of not effed to being effed, how effed in the A are they?
Upkeep reduction, meaning it's more expensive to upkeep this than this. So while we're recruiting, let's take a step back and look at the world so far. Right now, Ulthuan is pretty much owned by Tyrion and Alariel,
Thank you,
but what
Jade.
about everyone else? To the northwest, we have Malekith and Marathi, the Dark Elves, weirdly losing against the exiled Tomb Kings and Beatbox champion Katak. Beneath that, in Lustria, is Marcus Wolfheart fighting the Lizardmen. As for the rest of the world, it is a
Lizardmen?
mess,
More like
with the
Giga
dwarves
Chads.
somehow being the least atrocious looking
I mean, if I
faction.
wasn't
As
Tomb
more
Kings, I'd be
factions
lizard
consolidate
people.
land, they'll be at war with less people, and eventually
particular
just
reason.
us. Meaning we're on the clock until another 30 Doomstacks show up at our front door.
Ugh.
And the best way to handle a Doomstack is a bigger Doomstack. Something like, hypothetically, 20 Necrofex Colossi. Noctilus and the boys, partaking in tomfoolery. As you might imagine, this army is pretty close to
Good
unbeatable,
God.
which is great considering the neighbors have arrived. I've discovered
I mean,
new
what can you
wildlife,
really
and I
do
shall
against
name it
mythically
Wall. To test our army, we had to be
energized mech
careful,
pirates?
Be stupid. With Lightning Strike, Noctilus can single out any army. Surprise, surprise,
seems a little
we took
bit
no
busted.
damage. So this looks like a perfect
God, could
spot
you
to
imagine being on any faction that isn't this team?
strike. Noctilus can single out any army. Surprise, surprise, we took no damage.
And imagine being the other faction and seeing that walking towards you. This is like War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise, where you see the tanks trying to fight off the tripods. You ain't fighting nothing. This battle was decided before it even began.
Damage. So this looks like a perfect
Literally
spot
the
to end
rumbling
our
from
turn.
Team
Time to
Attack on
mentally
Titans.
prepare myself to fight 16 battles. Never mind, because not a single AI attack, choosing life over.
Out, Noctilus! I hate snow.
I tried to provoke the AI again, but just like before, they were gone faster than
you
you
wanna
could
know
say,
why? It's 'cause they
Jeffrey
learned their
Epstein.
lesson.
At no point in the campaign did I think this would be an issue. So as to fight someone, I went ahead with Noctilus's quest battle, an artillery duel with the Empire.
Makes
Okay,
sense.
my turn. For a bunch of giant-legged creatures, we're not very fast. We just slow walk towards our enemies and they're already dead. Moving past the
I mean,
quest
would there be
battle, we
any
caught
other
King
result
Lewin,
when you're
and just
literally
like before,
piloting, and I repeat my sentence here,
even with the unbreakable green knight on the
pirate ship mechs. And not just any pirate ship mechs. Pirate ship mechs with, and I say this subtly,
Big fucking cannons.
don't think so.
side, it only takes about 6 tons of raw cannonball to make him surprisingly flexible. Afterwards, I also took Noctilus off his Necrofex mount. While that might seem counterintuitive, he's actually a lot better on foot, becoming almost immune to range damage and now extremely hard to kill. Plus, he clumps up enemies around him, which is helpful for other reasons. No matter the army we fight, the
Yeah,
plan
I
is pretty
wonder
much
why.
always Noctilus goes straight, everybody else indiscriminately annihilate. And to give you an idea of how ruined the auto-resolve is now, the game thinks this fight is a crushing defeat, which isn't wrong, but for who? So I think I've made my
Exactly.
case.
The game just got a little bit confused. It says crushing defeat, but it didn't. It just got a bit confused as to who the crushing defeat was for.
That this army is
It only
quite
works by
good, which
metrics,
means we
right?
can
It
revisit
looks at
some
your
old
army and
friends.
only sees
It's
numbers. You know, it looks at your army and says, oh, you only have 10 units. It doesn't quantify the potency or the virility or the power of those individual units. It just sees, oh, you've got 10 units, the enemy has 5,000. I mean, that's a bit of a weighted thing, right?
time to invade Ulthuan again. To begin our crusade of world conquest, our first mission was to completely occupy
Thank you,
Ulthuan. As a
Truck-Con.
giant island in the sea, it's both easy to defend and gets avoided by most of the endgame crises. Taking our very first steps onto land... Okay, see, now this
Kick
is a
their
crushing
ass!
defeat. A 1v3 coupled with injured units, a scary enemy lord, and being outnumbered 179 to 1.
I repeat my sentiment from earlier. Mechs. It don't matter what numbers you got when you got f***ing mechs.
Well, we are not favored in this fight whatsoever. Okay, Tyrion, I hope you know what you bargained for. While Tyrion sat there and just got shot, we sent Noctilus in completely alone. Not very fair for them. One hit with
Oh
our
my
big stick
God.
diplomacy, and their HP is gone. Great as it might seem like it's going, it wasn't very long until all our Necrofex were fighting in melee, where they kinda suck. The only positive is that they drop zombie summons to protect them at half health, but Tyrion is a little too good at fighting them for it to matter. Alright, we're down to pretty much just 3 Necrofex Colossus, Noctilus, and a whole lot of summons.
You may be
Alright,
losing a
make
couple of
that
your
2
mechs, but for
Colossus.
every one
Just
mech
when
you're
I thought it
losing,
was
you're killing
over,
500
Noctilus
enemy
barely
soldiers.
killed Tyrion through
That,
the crowd,
if
surrounded
we
by
remember from earlier, when we talked about acceptable losses, that is 500 living, breathing human beings that cannot be brought back, except for as units for the other team as zombies. You lost a pirate ship mech. Nothing that was alive, just wood and a little bit of magic fart gas. Who really lost here? Even if you lose all of your mechs, they still had unsustainable losses. Equivalents of exchange.
hundreds of elves, he was quite literally too angry to die. We summoned more zombies and used our sword's vortex over and over. After 10 minutes of grinding in a mosh pit of
Oh my
scrawny
God.
elves, the balance of power went back in our favor. At the low cost of our entire 30,000 gold army, we pulled out a win, with Noctilus killing 800 people on his own. For the sheer will of one
God.
banana-chinned man with a sharp stick, the campaign could continue. By winning, we also triggered our undead passive, resurrecting a few of our colossi, and
Ooh.
since we defeated every defending army at once, that left their settlements open.
Recycling.
Marching up to Vol's Anvil, Noctilus would face his toughest opponent yet.
What?
Door.
Oh, how do I get through here? Anyone got a key? Oh no.
Sieging a settlement on his own. Yeah, that sounds about right. Despite
Literally a Breaking Bad moment of,
I am the danger. I am the one who knocks.
claiming our first settlement on Ulthuan, again, that didn't exactly resolve everything. Welcome to the capital. It sucks here. I have
yeah,
spent far
D&D
too many
mode.
hours
Okay,
fighting
so
on
the
this
probability of
exact
you
map.
as
Oh,
an individual character being able to knock down a reinforced door is astronomically low, but not zero. Are you willing to give that a try? The DC save is 20. Let's see if you got some luck in your asshole. And my dice hasn't shown up. It's ruined my punchline. And you failed.
While our population was getting war-weary. Don't worry guys, just a few more turns. Alariel was also back and sizing us up, forcing me to use my new special unit, the Gallows Giant. It's like a normal Colossus, but with some minor modifications. Back in the capital, we fought off these surrounding
if it
fleets,
wasn't
earning us the
powerful
first
enough as it
verse of a
was.
lost sea shanty. Random fleets around the ocean have these, and getting them gives us an army-wide ability to shoot even faster.
The only thing I hear in pretty much all these battles is just constant firing of cannons, because that is our
So there's what's known as military grade tinnitus, and in equivalent escalation, it goes tinnitus, extreme tinnitus, military grade tinnitus, and then pirate mech zombie tinnitus.
ranged attack and our melee attack. With all our expansion, I recruited a 4th lord. See how we're making money right now? Well, say goodbye to our positive income, because from this point forward, the name of the game is deficit spending. On our way to Lothern, we got intercepted
Okay,
by
that sounds
4
like a
whole
big
armies.
word, and I
It
don't
was not a
understand
very
big
hard
words,
fight.
so
We're
all I
basically
know
at
is
the point
more
where
zombies.
Nautilus' army beats everything
More
so long as it's
giant
attacking,
pirate
because we
mech
can lightning strike
zombies.
to lock out reinforcements. At the end of each battle, we get to use the lore of Vampire's magic to heal back, so we can effectively fight unlimited
Thank ya.
armies every turn. But
Appreciate
the
it,
one
guys.
thing that can make Noctilus even stronger, a better Sword of Khaine. We can either choose
I
to
thought-
throw it away, sparing the world of its destruction, or keep it, causing faction-wide upkeep increases, public order loss, and Noctilus going completely insane. However,
You mean to tell me that the literal pirate zombie Barbosa looking like dude, who is wielding the power of literal, and I repeat my sentence from earlier, pirate ship mechs, isn't already just a little bit quirky at the very least? I'm just saying.
bigger sword, putting us at a whopping 1.1k weapon strength. So when arriving to siege Lothern, we sent Noctilus in alone yet again. My old
As
nemesis.
if he needs any help anyway.
Breaking into the city, there's a little unique trick we can use. Our main vortex spell, Wind of Death, is actually a ping
What you meant to say is being a cheesy bastard. Much like how I was a cheesy bastard when I used to Zerg rush people in StarCraft 2.
pong ball. Within cities, we can bounce it off buildings to hit the same enemy multiple times. The result is a silly
Oh,
little
that's some
801
cheese. I love
kills in
it.
the Great Sack of Lothern. 20,000 gold and a whole lot of anti-humanitarian crime. Or at least it would be.
You say anti-humanitarian crime, I merely call it paving the way for the benefit of zombie kind everywhere at the cost of quite literally a Geneva Convention violation. Sorry, suggestion.
If I thought elves were people. Our empire now encompassed a small section of ulthuan, afforded by Noctilus's army, leaving every battle having healed instead of taking damage. Our limit was more so every other army, having to defend what Noctilus conquered from an elf whose greatest weakness was a school zone. More important than the Landol was finding Marcus Wolfheart. As I said a while ago, the two legendary lords we wanted to fight were Sigvald and Marcus, with one of them in front of us right
So
now.
it's around this kind of time that I'm getting that sensation that the big superpowers of the planet are starting to take hold. You got one big blue faction taking root here. And then you got a bunch of smaller factions that have been eradicated. And slowly but surely, this zombie army is slowly taking over the big idols here. I think we're about to see the big factions face off against each other.
The Lizardman army was more than ready to do nothing, while Marcus came in as reinforcements. It's the flight of the Eagles, except the Eagles are going up against 18 anti-aircraft
And the Eagles are
guns.
bats!
It didn't take long for Noctilus to find Marcus and win in 2 hits, gaining us his legendary defeat trait, increased range damage
Geneva
for everyone.
Convention?
Our next target
More
would
like
be Sigvald,
Geneva
because his trait will
suggestion.
make Noctilus unkillable. But because he lives deep in the Chaos Waste, we'd have to wait until we could reach him. In the meantime, our armies expanded, recruiting famous admirals like William Bootycatcher, and our current second mate, Burke Black, who was busy taking the gates protecting Inner Ulthuan. We'd also researched a special banner, which gives 20% ward save or damage reduction. Combining that with the Sword of Khaine's 30
You know, I feel as though as this is going on, I'm going to have to start putting this up on the screen a little bit more consistently. Yeah.
5% ward save and a random amulet's 8%, Noctilus was rocking a solid 63% damage reduction, which effectively more than doubles his health. With all the new land we'd gained, we could afford new armies and keep conquering Ulthuan, so long as foreign powers didn't intervene. But at turn 87,
Yeah,
it's
foreign
not like anyone
powers.
had a reason to mess
America.
with us. You know, I figured, maybe they're pretty close, like near my capital or something. No. They are not. Halting our faction burned the entire turn, getting several cities sacked and sending us back a little. But not every demon is a complete douche, because directly to the north of us was Be'lakor. In a campaign where we are at war with everyone, Be'lakor is probably the closest thing we have to an ally. I ignore him, he ignores me, and we both burn down ulthuan. He even graciously let me conveniently disappear. But in taking the gate, it revealed a new friend, Malekith, internet edgelord and incestual enthusiast.
Malekith comes.
Back in the main part of Ulthuan, we'd begun sieging the last resistance
I
inside
have something
the
in
island.
common with
After
Malekith.
fighting 3
We both
consecutive
come.
lightning strike battles, Tyrion City
To the
was
fight.
exposed, which we conquered using the ancient art of waiting for them to starve. Elsewhere, Burke Black took
That's
another from
attrition.
Alarielle, Orion rammed his head into a garrison, and we got a quest
Just
for
because
the
it's a
final
bad
verse
strategy
of our
doesn't mean
sea
it's not
shanty
an
with some
invalid
of the
strategy.
best bonuses I have ever seen. But even with the shanty that doubled
Look, when those assholes are extract camping in Escape from Tarkov, or somebody cannon rushes you in StarCraft 2, it is a strategy. It's not a very good strategy, and you'll be considered an asshole for doing it, but it is a strategy.
our fire rate, most of our armies weren't very strong. Zombie gunners and polearms are objectively terrible units, even if they are cost efficient. And we couldn't just auto-win with Noctilus because his army can't be everywhere.
Thank you,
Although
BC.
we did get a special ancillary for a ship's carpenter, minus 50% horde building costs for a single army. Except you can move ancillaries around, instantly, at any time, to any lord.
Oh.
Yeah. So after several turns of upgrading, Burke Black is dead. And in his place rises a new admiral.
Not
Man with
Burke!
cracks. Because Necrofex Colossi aren't the only endgame unit. At the same tier are rotting Leviathans, and after recruiting a unit. At the same tier.
Now, this might sound like an adventurous hear me out here, guys, but, hear me out. If we fuck the crabs, how can we get crabs when we're fucking the thing that we would get to begin with? It's premeditative. Okay? It's not about the hear me out, it's about the premeditative prevention of STDs. Yeah.
Here are rotting Leviathans, and after recruiting a few,
Logistical.
my income was hit by a Red Lobster delivery truck. But it did allow us to bully
Oh my God, those are
Alarielle,
actually really
and
cute.
any amount of money is worth that. Plus, this is only 4 crabs. It only gets worse from here. Bringing Alarielle down to her last settlement, we were also able to obtain our final shantyverse, doubling reload speed, giving mass leadership, and plus 15 public order map wide. So instead of enacting governmental change, we're just singing sea shanties. Congress, take notes. On Noctilus' side of the island, he demolished about
I'm a little bit upset they didn't play the RuneScape sea shanty song here.
420 stacks in a single turn, chopped down Durthu, and wrestled control over most of Ulthuan, even eradicating Alarielle's faction. Despite mostly dealing with the High Elves, we now had to deal with these slightly more sober elves. Noctilus was busy sieging one of
The
the major
Night
High Elf
Elves.
settlements, blocking the rest
The
of their
socially
land, although
inept
apparently
elves.
shooting cannons at walls is surprisingly precise. For whatever reason, they keep sending out one unit at a time to duel Noctilus. Eventually,
They were reading James Gunn's narrative writing as how to use their army. Just send in one guy at a time. It's cinematic and it looks cool, but it's not very effective.
after wiping out most of their single entities, I got bored. Right now is pretty much the grindy part, fighting unlosable lightning strike battles and reclaiming settlements, so I'll skip ahead to turn 110. In just a few short turns, we have grown, but not alone. The old world
Oh my god, after all of this!
reclaiming settlements, so I'll skip ahead to turn 110. In just a few
Dude, after all of this, this is as far as we've got? We are 25 minutes into this video and you've only captured one region of the map. Holy smokes!
short turns, we have grown, but not alone. The old world is almost completely ruled by dwarves, empire, and Cathay.
Ew. Ew. And this is why we are antithetical to the Empire, because blech, who the hell would want to align themselves with people that can't even reach the top shelf?
Which would be fine
Yo,
if they
Corey,
weren't all
thanks for the
allies.
raid, hun.
Empire
You
ships
said
were
it.
already showing up at Ulthuan, and Malekith was
Hey guys,
ready to
go follow
get
Corey,
goofier
please.
than a moist critical police chase. A silver lining was that the High Elves are dead. With one last fight against Lothern, we'd removed all High Elves from Ulthuan, but other enemy armies were pretty much everywhere, requiring me to sail out and fight several dwarf armies per turn. In summary, things are back. Our armies had also hit the campaign movement.
Do I hear StarCraft 2 music? Listen, listen, listen.
Dwarf armies per turn. In summary, things are back. Our
I'd reckon that guitar noise anywhere. That's the StarCraft 2 menu music. I have 7,000 plus hours in StarCraft 2. I used to play it professionally. I would recognize StarCraft music anywhere.
Armies that also hit the campaign movement limit. Because we have so many movement bonuses, there's no difference between March stance and default stance. So apparently these peg legs run off rocket fuel. On the less horrible side, we were forcing chaos and Bellicor from the island. Our income was not negative, and Crabman had acquired more crabs. They may be heavily armed, but we are heavily legged. I guess you could say we beat the crab out of them.
You deserved it, Grim Cleaper. You deserved it.
Not to mention, the crabs are auto-resolve gods. I don't even need to fight this to destroy both armies. Meanwhile, Noctilus's army has the weakest auto-resolve I have ever seen. Oh, a small Bretonnian garrison, crushing defeat, forcing me to manually fight almost every battle with his army. But winning this one meant we could make landfall in the Old World with our very first settlement. By being in the Old World, Noctilus could draw aggro from most armies, allowing us to freely boot every other faction off Ulthuan and essentially secure the whole island. Advancing further and taking Castle Bastion, we'd cleared out most of the resistance from Bretonnia. 3 whole Empire armies.
I mean, they're
if only there were a button
human.
that let me beat all of...
Guys, humans can't get mechs. Zombie pirates can get mechs. You see the inferiority here? One of these factions are infinitely better than the other.
them in the same turn.
Oh,
Army
what are the
1,
humans
meet
gonna
the
do?
deadly Luminar
Make a
from
political
Hitch. In only a
agenda
few
about
shots,
it?
It can take down a Necrofex easily, which is exactly why I decided meleeing Noctilus was somehow smart. Look at this disgusting Empire smut. Not in my Christian server. Moving on to Army 2, we were faced with the immovable steam tank. Army 3, Karl Franz. Karl looks like he has not slept in at least a week. Starting the battle, I figured it would be pretty easy. Noctilus walks over, beats down Franz, and we get to important stuff, like paying off our debt. But much like my student loans, Karl Franz is soul-crushingly strong. Oh my god.
Oh god, that's
Karl
a mood.
is,
I left university 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and I'm still paying off my student loan. Blech.
1k weapon strength, 85. Wait, he's got better stats than Noctilus. Jesus, that might not seem like a lot of damage, but with Noctilus's 80% physical resistance, that means Karl did something like 8,000 damage in about
Good
10
God.
seconds. Luckily, his decision to fly away was tactically poor by Karl. It didn't take long
Oops.
after that to expand in the old world.
A tactically unsound decision, or less poetically, an oopsie. A very costly oopsie. An oopsie that ended up in your life being forfeit because you're stupid.
Lining the entire ocean in some sort of vampire coast. But our struggle wasn't over quite yet, because panning to the west,
Thank you,
hello
Rapscallion.
Marathi, bringing 3 armies plus a garrison to the front, losing this fight meant losing the whole western side of the island. Now there is no actual way we fairly win this. Marathi's armies are absolutely juiced with dragons, Medusa, and Hydras. So we have to do the next best thing. I'm gonna cheat. Using the AI-controlled army trick, we could have all 80 of our units fighting 20 of theirs at a time. Alright, and the tables have turned ever so slightly.
Oh,
as you can
that's
see
some
the number
cheese.
go up.
And yet, like I said earlier, if you can, and it's available, you probably should. Sure, it's a strategy, sure. It's an asshole of a strategy, but it's a strategy.
Numbering them 8-1, it didn't take long for the entire battlefield to be swarmed by Walmart tier undead, who were literally born yesterday. I really wish I could describe in better detail what was actually happening, but all I know is we've already lost 1,000 units and the battle's not been going on for very long. Jesus Christ, their lord is still alive and she has 405 kills. Not to mention Marathi landed once and she has been stuck here for the entire game. With the first enemy reinforcements coming in, we still had to fight 2 whole other armies, but our saving grace was a spell called Vangeist's Revenge, summoning the Flying Dutchman to obliterate their best units.
Again,
That
reminding
one
you,
shot alone netted
none of your
400
units
kills.
were
You know
alive
things are bad
to
when you
begin
outnumber
with.
them 1,700 to 14 and you're losing.
Angulate
With the
wings.
last few enemies being Bloodrack Medusas, we managed to pull them down with our ROR crabs. At the cool cost of 6,500 lives, we managed to push back Marathi and the Dark Elves. While the South was distracted, we sent the Great Crabman across the pond, flattening...
It is absurd how quickly this is escalating. It took them 25 minutes to take over that initial U-shaped island, And now within, like, what, an extra 10 minutes, they've already started dominating half of the mainland.
4 Dark Elf armies at once, and about a turn later, sieged our first Dark Elf city. What's the point of building giant walls if you are next to a giant hill? Collapsing the settlement earned us a holding in Nagaroth, where we could start to take over the Dark Elf.
Listen, nobody said that the elves were very smart. I mean, the fact they exist to begin with shows that poetically.
Plus, our other 3 armies sailed across to gain another port from Morathi. Looking back towards the old world,
Ah, yes, another fine beachhead.
we will ignore the old world. Our economy was allowing us to field 8 armies at once, despite losing 4,700 in supply lines alone. The Crab Stack sat on Malekith, took even more settlements, and greeted our new enemy, the Tomb Kings. Well, Katep, I
Yeah,
can't blame
my
you for trying, but
boys!
he can. With a foothold in Nagaron and a handle on
Thank
the
you,
old
Laurel.
world, the tendrils of Noctilus's patriotism had spread
Good
across the globe.
God, they spread quickly, which is also what I said about your mum last night.
We'd even achieved our long campaign victory, so really, what
Thank
was
you,
left to
Raven.
stop us? Okay, that's pretty bad. A
Also, it's been a while,
endgame
Raven. I hope you're well,
crisis,
hon.
with the dwarves being the most powerful faction. Now, I know that doesn't seem ideal, but I have good news. They are not alone. Apparently, I forgot to change my settings at the start, so every crisis begins on a long campaign victory. So now we have 10 turns to prepare. Did I say 10? No, I meant 1. Bringing back as many armies as possible and completely abandoning the old world, it was time to watch the supreme battle royale unfold. And if you thought the map looked disgusting now, dwarves, Tomb Kings, dwarves, plus all those other factions that will probably die to dwarves. Although strangely, the only armies I couldn't find were the Skaven ones, part of the Vermintide crisis. Even more so when I realized all the Skaven factions were back, but none of them were actually on the map. In terms
You say crisis, I say prime opportunity to have as many rat pets as you've ever wanted in your life. It's all about the way you look at it, really. It's all a matter of perspective.
the other Crisis armies were lucky because ulthuan spawns none of them. Our main issue is Mausilian and a Heinrich Kemmler who hit the gym. Plus, in the top left of the map is Grombrindel's faction and a Wood Elf city. While there are other armies like Grimgor, Manfred, and
Roland,
Orion, we get to
thank you for
roleplay
this
High Elves and not care. Sorry, Cetra, you're on your own. Passing the turn just once, I am now scared. With Mausilian coming
Why,
across
though?
the channel, we
You have
evacuated Nautilus to
MECHS, my
defend
guy.
Ulthuan. Unsurprisingly, the rest of the world had evolved backwards. There's the Kislev Chaos Ways, Kuget's Island Paradise,
Oh, the wording. They have evolved backwards, and we made them evolve backwards.
Dwarven Slovenia, Kairos, JP Morgan Fate Weaver, and the Clan Angrund Oak of Ages. And that's not all. Katep's Mountain Disco, Dark Elf Grombrindle, the Skaven Navy, a Twilight Fan Club, Mean Girl Kemmler, Pacifism for the Peace God, the Undead Pirate Force, Jurassic Park 2, and Archaea.
Yeah,
Still
so
alive.
this is what is known in the business as a snowball effect. What started as just a rabble of mindless zombies has snowballed into the complete and utter zombie overtake of the entire universe, and you were all too busy fighting each other to realize that the biggest threat around you wasn't you, but the dead you that survived from a few rounds ago and are now fighting you because they don't like you existing in a world where they are dead and you're alive!
And wishing he was dead. But in the midst of the chaos, one thing stood out. Sigvald,
Big
who
Mate
decided to
95.
show his face in northern Nagaron. Sending Noctilus to catch him, we were intercepted by Velacor, where we gained his legendary defeat trait and moved on. Sure enough, Sigvald was still around, so we could finally collect, allowing us to get his legendary defeat
The
trait,
fact
which
that this went
isn't
in
showing up. But it's probably
Cleaver's
just hidden in the
favor is
menu
absurd.
after Velacor? Little known fact, there's actually a cap on the number of traits you can have. Right now, we have 30, and the cap is 30. Sigvald's
Oh.
trait would have put Noctilus to essentially 90% ward save, multiplying effective health by 1000%. And for
Oh.
reference, going back to that high elf battle where Noctilus killed everything alone, if we took all the damage he did to every unit combined, then inflicted it on him, he still would not die. Which would have happened
God.
if not for Bellicor.
a little bit
I will be
busted.
back. But right now, there was something slightly more pressing. A nuclear bomb under my city. Ikit had made it to Ulthuan and infested it with the Under Empire. Naturally,
Oh, that's right! The Skaven are basically the Shadow Wizard money gang, tampering with forces they really shouldn't.
his first inclination was domestic terrorism.
Thank you,
Clearing
Sophie.
the Undercity isn't difficult, but there's no way of knowing how many others there were spread around the world. So I went about putting detection in every settlement. Right now, though, our biggest threat was Grombrindle and the Northern Dwarves, because leaving Noctilus out on his own, for as invincible as Noctilus is, the rest of our army is less so, and losing Necrofex is fairly expensive. To that,
But surely, by logical standing, the connotation of invincible derives the state of surviving damage that would otherwise kill you. But if you were dead already, you don't need to be invincible because you're not dying, you're just becoming re-dead, which means the invincibility of being invincible was the fact that you were avoiding death by not dying, but if you're dead already, does that mean you need to be invincible? Because you've already circumvented the need for invincibility. Yeah?
At end, I spent the next half hour kiting while Noctilus killed their entire army. After 40 minutes and several dead necrophects, we beat the dwarves. And immediately afterward, the Skaven crisis. Plotting underneath the earth, they'd finally arisen to take over a swamp. A desert. This dwarf's ass. In the middle of literally
I don't
nowhere.
think the
Now,
Raven
much as I
problem
wanna
is as
conquer
big
the
as people
entire
want you
world
to
and
believe
paint
it
it
is.
hot pink, we've
The
run into a
Raven,
bit
the
of an
Skavens are just
lag.
content with
There's something
existing,
like
right?
500
They
armies
just want to
on the map
exist in
right
the
now,
butt
and each
crack of
turn
every
takes a
land
decade
ever.
to pass.
They'll
Call it
happily
laziness,
let you
call it
exist in the
decadence,
world,
but instead
part
of
of the world
fighting
that are more
through every
hospitable.
single province
They
and
just want to
forgetting
live
what
in
grass looks
sweaty,
like, I have a better
swampy
idea.
ass cracks of everywhere.
One last fight. Our armies were near invincible, our land expansive, and of all the enemies we could go after, there was clearly one that stood out. So to make it fair, I disbanded every necrophects we had and sailed Noctilus to our destination. Hello, Be'lakor. May God have mercy. This god.
You see, if you take this army and distribute it to its individual component parts, this would have never won. If you were just pirates, nah, would have never worked. If you were just zombies, nah, would have never worked. But by the power of Davy Jones's locker and Johnny Depp's scrotum, the power of zombie pirates is the reason you win. Good job. That's what I'm talking about. Victory.
Thanks to all of you, I've made the decision to go full time. Now I can finally be
Nice. All right, this was a lot of fun. All right, thank you, Mr. Kleeper, for a fine demonstration of world apocalyptic nonsense. Guys, if you enjoyed this, please make sure you go and subscribe to Grim Kleeper. Check out their video in the original format. And I am gonna have to dip now because I gotta go pee. So if you enjoyed it, like, share, subscribe, join them on Twitch, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.